Welcome back, listener. Come in, get comfortable, and let the day go. Tonight we are walking into the largest city the ancient world ever built. On an ordinary warm night 1900 years ago, 1 million people live here. Nearly all of them are about to fall asleep, and we are going to walk among them quietly from sunset to the hour before dawn, and watch the greatest city on earth do the most ordinary thing a city does: close its eyes. Before we set out, settle yourself properly. Put the day down whole wherever you are. It will keep till morning. Let your shoulders drop. Let the bed take your full weight, and let your breathing find its own slow pace. Nothing is required of you tonight. This story asks for no attention it does not earn, and it is built to be lost. Drift when you drift. The city will go on without you, the way cities do, and the words will be here, walking, whenever you surface, and it will not matter where. If you find these nights help you sleep, the kindest thing you can do is simple. Subscribe so the next quiet night can find you, and leave a word below telling us where in the world you are listening from. We read them all in the mornings. And there is something quietly wonderful about a map of sleepers, scattered across every time zone, all resting in the same imaginary streets. Wherever you are welcome here. This hour is yours. And now the one rule of the road, the same as every night. You have my full permission to fall asleep at any moment. There is no ending you must stay awake for. Nothing in this story will startle you. Nothing will demand you back. The whole point of the walk is to lose you somewhere along it, in the best possible way. Tonight's city has 1 million beds in it. Consider one of them yours. Here is the road we will walk, though you need not remember it. We begin on a hill at sunset, looking out over an ocean of tiled roofs. We come down into the streets as the night carts roll in, and we visit the apartment houses and the fountains, the cooling baths and the walking watch. We call on a sleepless poet, an empty forum, a dark river full of quiet barges. We look in on the bakers and the great houses, on a sacred fire that never goes out, on the empty racetrack and the dreaming hills. And we end, as we always end, in the smallest hours, with the whole city breathing slow, and morning still politely far away. So, the sun is going down behind the ridge across the river. The swifts are up in their thousands, taking their last loud turns around the towers. And under them, rank on rank on rank, the roofs of Rome are catching the day's final gold. Let us start up here, above it all, while the light lasts. Listen, somewhere below, early, eager, the first cart of the night rolls over stone and rolls away. From the hill above the river's far bank, the whole city lies eastward under the falling light. And the first honest thing to say about Rome is that it does not look real. Every other city of this world stops. The eye finds its edge, its wall, its fields beyond. This one goes on, roof after roof after roof, terracotta beyond counting, rising and falling over hills like a red gold sea gone still. Here and there the great white islands stand out of it, temple roofs in bronze, the long spines of the basilicas, the far rim of the great racetrack. A traveler seeing this for the first time always does the same thing. He stops, counts hills, gives up. The famous hills are in there, 7 of them by the old counting, though the city long ago flowed over and between and past them, the way water ignores the stones it was named for. The Palatine wears the palaces, roofline above every roofline. The Aventine shoulders up to the south, thick with houses and plain trees. Between and below and around them all lies the ordinary endless city. The valleys packed deep with streets, and every street packed deep with lives. 1 million people, give or take, which is a number no other city will reach again for well over 1,000 years. It is worth saying slowly. In the whole story of the world so far, there have never been this many people asleep in one place. The light is going now, the way summer light goes on this peninsula, without hurry and all at once. The tiled sea below turns from gold to rose to a deep clay red, then to no color at all, only shape. And as the color drains out of the roofs, the first lamps come up beneath them. 1 here, 3 there. A window, a doorway, a courtyard, 100 windows, 1,000. It is exactly like watching stars come out, except that the sky in question is lying at your feet, and every star in it is somebody's supper. The sounds come up the hill in layers as the day ends, and you can peel them apart from here. The swifts first, that high wheeling shriek, thinning as they climb to wherever swifts spend the dark. Under them the city's daily roar, subsiding, a sound like surf pulling back. It never quite goes to nothing. A city this size has no silence, only a floor. And under everything, new since this morning, a low grinding note beginning at every gate at once, a sound of iron rims and axles and patient oxen. The carts, the night deliveries are starting, but those deserve their own chapter, and they will get it. Rivers of smoke stand up from the city in the last light, straight as pines in the windless evening. 1,000 thin gray columns from 100,000 supper fires. The smell that reaches the hilltop is the smell of every city you have visited in these nights, and none of them. Bread and wood smoke and warm stone, yes, the eternal base, but bigger, layered, spiced with the whole world. Because the whole world docks at this city's river and ends up in its kitchens. Somewhere down there tonight, every language of the empire is saying some version of supper is ready. All of them are understood. Stand a last moment as the dark completes itself. The city of lamps now lies where the city of roofs did, and it is somehow even larger. A traveler brought here blindfolded could be told this was the sea in harvest, a fleet of fishing fires, and believe it. It is only Rome at rest, being enormous quietly. The hills are shadows on shadows. The river below has gone to black glass, with a lamp's wiggle in it. The first stars are up, doing their best, frankly outnumbered. We could stand here all night, and travelers do, but the city is better close up, and the night is opening its gates this very hour. Come down the hill path, over the bridge where the lanterns are lit, toward the warm, enormous hum of it. Somewhere ahead of us, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. At the city's every gate tonight, the same scene, and it is one of the great sights of the working world. Oxen in the torchlight, cart after cart after cart, laden to the rails, rolling in out of the dark countryside in slow procession, and the gatekeepers waving them through with the weary economy of men who will do this all night, because they will. Rome has a law, and the law is the reason the night sounds the way it does. No wheeled traffic in the city by day. None. The streets are simply too full of people, so everything 1,000,000 people will eat, burn, build with, and stand on tomorrow has to come in tonight. All of it, every night, forever. Think for a moment about what 1,000,000 people use in a day, and the scale of the night parade makes itself. Grain by the barge and the wagon load, wine by the 100 barrels, oil by the 1,000 jars, vegetables from every farm within a night's ox walk, hay for the animals, wood and charcoal for 100,000 hearths, building stone, roof tile, sand, lime, timber, marble for the endless works, fish coming up from the port at the gallop. Relatively speaking, the countryside empties itself into the city every night through a dozen gates, the way streams feed a lake, and the lake every morning is level again, and thirsty by noon. The sound of it is the city's night music, and you must learn to love it, because nobody sleeps in Rome who has not. Iron tires on stone, a low continuous grind and rumble, near and far, coming and going all night from every quarter at once. Romans complain about it magnificently. The poets write about it. The visitors write home about it. And yet, and this is the truth of it, the sound is not a bad sound once you stop fighting it. It is deep and patient, and means nothing but bread tomorrow. 10,000 children in this city right now are being rocked to sleep by it, and will be homesick for it someday, in quiet places. Walk beside one cart a while, up from the southern gate. The carter is a big, slow man, made entirely of the same material as his oxen, and he talks to them, low and constant, in the private language of his trade. The team knows the route better than he does, he would admit. Left at the fountain, easy on the long hill, stand for the unloading, lean in for the last rise. They have walked it 400 nights. He carries melons tonight, and the smell rides with him like a passenger, and half the sleeping street knows in its dreams, without waking, that melons went by. At the warehouses and the market squares, the carts unlace themselves from the procession, one by one, each to its own dock. The unloading crews work by torchlight, sacks to shoulders, jars to ramps, tal is chalked on posts. There is shouting, but it is technical shouting, the necessary syllables of men moving heavy things in the dark. And it has a rhythm to it older than the city. Heave down, turn again. The foreman drinks from the dock fountain and counts with his thumb on a knotted cord. By dawn the docks will be full and the carts will be gone. The whole night fleet, out the gates before the traffic law wakes with the sun. Outside every gate, just past the tombs, stand the carters' inns, and they keep the hours of the trade, which is to say they are at their liveliest now, in the middle of everyone else's night. Torchlit yards full of resting teams, oxen at the long troughs, working through their hay with the massive patience of their kind, harness hung on the rail above each pair. In the common room, drivers eat the standard supper of the road, bean stew and bread and rough wine. At long tables where the talk is roads, loads, prices, and mud, the four eternal topics. The innkeeper knows 500 men by their teams. A new boy is asleep with his head on the table, first week on the night runs, and nobody wakes him. Everyone at that table slept exactly there, once, in exactly that position. The trade lets you. The yards keep a farrier awake through the dark, because iron waits for no schedule, and his little forge glows in the corner like the yard's own hearth. A thrown ox shoe, a sprung cart rim, a linchpin gone somewhere on the dark plain. He mends the night's small breakages as they limp in, unhurried by feel as much as by lamp. Between jobs he feeds the fire and watches the road, the way all keepers of corner fires watch their patch. His anvil, struck soft at this hour out of courtesy, sends its ting across the yard and out over the tombs, and the dead of the roadside, who were carters and farriers too, some of them, could ask for no homier sound to lie near. The stone says, "Stop, traveler." The anvil answers, "Working, working." Both are content. The carters going home empty are the night's philosophers. The load is off. The oxen know the road, and the man rides the rail with his supper in his lap, and the whole dark countryside opening back out in front of him. Behind him, the city that ate his melons. Ahead, the farm that will grow tomorrow's. He is the hinge between them nightly, and he knows it, and the knowing sits well. Somewhere behind him in the streets, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. His own wheels answer it, going the other way, going home. Most of Rome does not live in the marble city. Most of Rome lives upstairs. The apartment house, the insula, the islander's block, is how 1,000,000 people fit inside one wall, and the city is stacked with them. 4 floors, 5 floors, 6 where the builders were bold. Whole street faces of shuttered windows going up into the dark. One of them stands over the fountain corner ahead, lamplight leaking at the seams. And since we are invisible tonight and stories may, let us climb it, floor by floor, and feel the whole building settle toward sleep under us. The ground floor is shops always, the building's feet planted in commerce. The cook shop on the corner, banking its fires now, in the eternal way of corner cook shops. A cloth seller shuddered, the copper beater, silent at last, to the open relief of the entire block above him. Between the shops the building's own door, and inside it the stair. And the stair is the building's spine, and its gossip and its geography. Everything anybody knows in this house, the stair knew first. The first floor up is the best address, and knows it. Broad rooms, real windows, a landlord's own family or tenants of standing. Their supper was cooked, not carried. Their lamps burn olive oil, plural at once. Listen at the landing. A lyre played gently and honestly not well, and nobody minds. The clink of cups being gathered, a father's voice reading slowly, a child's voice correcting him, which means the child is being taught letters and has, as children do, overtaken the teaching. Comfort has a sound, and it is this floor's sound. It hums, climb, and the rooms shrink as the stairs narrow. Second floor, third. Doors closer together now, suppers smaller, one lamp per household and minded carefully. Yet listen, because this is the part worth climbing for. The sounds do not get poorer. A flute somewhere, a real one, played well. Some tired musician putting his day down the only way he knows. Twins being sung to, one song working on two heads. An old woman telling her grandson the story of a fox, doing all the voices. Laughter through a wall, two rooms conspiring. The house narrows as it rises. The living in it does not. The building's inner court is its village square. A shaft of night sky with a cistern head at the bottom, and the last of the evening's commerce is finishing there now. The water girl from the third floor fills the household jugs of two old neighbors along with her own. The arrangement is paid in mended tunics and in honey cakes at festivals. The cobbler's wife takes in the laundry lines strung across the court, hand over hand from her window, moon on the moving linen. Somebody's supper bowl borrowed, goes back up in the basket on a rope that serves the court as its own small crane. Two figs ride in it for the interest. None of this is charity, and all of it is. The building keeps accounts no landlord ever sees, in flour and thread and watched children and remembered kindnesses. Those are the accounts that hold the place up. The bricks do less than they claim. The stair takes its last traffic of the night, and the stair's own etiquette governs. Feet learn to land soft after dark. Doors learn to close on the latch, not the slam. The flute player, coming home late from a supper engagement, climbs his 4 flights with his sandals in his hand. It is a professional courtesy, returned to him nightly by every neighbor who rises before dawn. On the second landing he steps over the sleeping house dog, who holds the warm spot by long right and does not stir. The whole building knows his tread and sleeps through it. Strangers' feet and only strangers' feet wake an insula. Its own people move through it like thoughts through a head. The top floor is the cheapest and the closest to the stars. And tonight, in high summer, that is not entirely a joke at its expense. The poorest tenants have dragged their bedding out the low windows onto the leads, the flat places of the roof, as the whole top of the city does in this season. And so the roofline of Rome tonight is quietly populated, a scattered nation of rooftop sleepers under the open sky, cooler than any first floor, richer in stars than any palace ceiling. A student is up there now, lying on his back, one arm behind his head, learning constellations instead of law. His father pays for the law. The sky throws and the rest free. The building holds them all, creaking. It is not a perfect building. It leans a thumb's width. The stairs complain. Everyone hears more of everyone than anyone would choose. But feel it now, near midnight. As the last lamps go down floor by floor, the whole tall, crowded hive of it easing toward one shared sleep, families stacked on families, all their separate warmths rising together through the dark. 200 people in one building, resting. It is not marble. It was never going to be marble. It is something the marble city downhill never quite manages. It is full. On the leads, the student's eyes have closed, the constellations unfinished above him. Below, floor by floor, the house has gone dark and it breathes, all of it together, slow and deep. Out in the street, far down somewhere, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. Nobody in the tall house hears it, or rather, all of them do, and it means all is well, and it rocks them an inch deeper down. You know this sound already. You learned it in a smaller town by the bay, on another night of this kind. But Rome does not have that town's 40 fountains. Rome has, by the count of the men who mine them, many hundreds of public basins, and the private ones past counting, and every single one of them is running right now, and none of them will stop before morning, because none of them can stop at all. The city is threaded through, with falling water the way a meadow is threaded with crickets. Stand anywhere on any street at this hour, and at least one thread of water sound will find you. It is the first thing homesick Romans miss, and they will tell you so. Not the Forum, the fountains. The water arrives on legs. That is the marvel of it. And no one who has seen the roads into this city ever forgets the sight. The aqueducts come striding in from the hills across the plain, mile after mile of stacked arches, carrying rivers on their shoulders, several of them at once, built across 3 centuries. They run side by side, and sometimes one atop another, 2 channels, 3 channels high. Inside those channels, day and night, whole hillsides worth of cold spring water walks patiently to town, downhill the entire way, never hurrying, never resting. Tonight, in the dark, the arches stand over the sleeping fields like a fence built by giants, and the water goes on walking through them, invisible, faithful, cool. Inside the walls, the rivers divide, and divide and divide again into mains and branches and street pipes and house pipes. A buried tree of water with the whole city for its canopy. The men of the water board know the tree limb by limb. They have maps, and the maps are treasures of state argued over like borders. So much to the emperor's houses, so much to the baths, so much to the great names who have earned or purchased a private pipe. But the deepest share, the one the old engineers wrote into the system's very bones, goes to the street basins, the public mouths, the water of everybody. A city can be measured many ways. This one decided early that whatever else ran short, the poorest street's fountain would run. The basin at this corner is granite, chest high, and old enough that the spout has worn its stone lip into a smooth channel, like a stream working a hillside, only slower. All night it pours its steady rope of water, silver in the shrine lamp's light. A carter stops his team and drinks, and waters the near ox from his leather bucket, and the far ox complains about precedence, as the far ox always does. A pair of night porters fill their jug. A cat drinks at the overflow, elbows out, precise as a countess. Between visitors, the basin simply runs, talking to itself, keeping the corner. The little column of sound stands in the dark like a lamp made of noise. There is a man asleep not far from here whose whole day is the water. One of the water board's walkers, a checker of junctions, a listener at grates. By day he reads the flow at the settling tanks, hunts leaks by ear down the access shafts, settles the eternal quiet war with the pipe tappers who bleed the mains for their gardens. He is prouder of his trade than a senator, and with more cause. Ask him over wine what he does, And he will not say he minds pipes. He will say, and he has said it so often his friends say it with him, that he carries rivers to 1,000,000 strangers nightly, and loses barely a cupful on the way. Late tonight past the middle dark, a small ceremony will happen at this basin, as at all of them with no one watching. The night's dust will have settled through the water, and the overflow, running steadily at the rim, will have carried it off, and the basin will stand clean again, renewed by nothing but its own patience. That is the system whole in one basin. Nothing in it strives. Everything in it simply continues. The rivers walk in on their arches. The tree of pipes breathes out at 1,000 mouths. The city drinks and washes and sleeps, and the water runs on through the dark, unhurried, unfailing. Cup your hands, drink, and be counted among the millions the old engineers were thinking of, though they never learned your name. The water is cold, and tastes faintly of far hills. Above the basin, the sky has settled into full night. Somewhere down the block, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. The fountain does not pause for it. The fountain pauses for nothing. That is the whole comfort of the thing. The largest warm rooms on the face of the earth are cooling tonight, slowly, the way mountains would cool, if mountains were built kindly. You have seen a bathhouse close in a small town, and it was gentle and good. Now scale it. The imperial baths of this city are not buildings so much as indoor weather, vaulted halls that hold their own climate, pools like small harbors, ceilings so high that the lamplight gives up halfway, and the upper vault keeps its own private dusk. Thousands bathed here today, senators and stonemasons in the same warm water, which is rather the point of the place. Now the doors are barred, the halls stand empty, and the great mass of it, brick and marble soaked all day in furnace heat, begins to give its warmth back to the night, one slow breath at a time. Empty, the halls perform for no one. Moonlight comes down through the high glazed openings and lies in long panes on the water of the great pool, which has gone perfectly still, acres of it, a floor of black glass with the moon laid out on it in silver bars. The Mosaic sea gods on the bottom have the swimming to themselves. Every small sound becomes architecture in here at night. A drip from a bronze spout somewhere falls, and the vault takes the little note and stretches it, rolls it hall to hall, hands it back seconds later from an unexpected direction, softened, deepened, like a bell remembering itself. The attendants who walk the closing rounds say, "It is the building talking." They are not wrong in any way that matters. Below in the service world, the night crew is at the eternal work. The furnace corridors under these baths are streets, honestly mapped and named, and the stokers who walk them keep the fires banked but living through the dark, because a cold start on halls this size would take days. You met one furnace man in a small town by the bay, supping alone by his one fire. Here there are dozens, and they keep a night kitchen in the warmest corridor, and their bread, toasted on a stoker's shovel polished for the purpose, is famous 3 streets in every direction. The empire above them holds the world. They hold the temperature of the empires, one shared luxury. Both parties consider their own the greater responsibility, and both, at this hour, are asleep on their feet and cheerful. The libraries deserve a word, because these baths keep 2. One wing for each of the empire's 2 great languages, reading rooms off the cool halls, shelves of scrolls in their thousands, where a bather clean and warm may sit and borrow any book in the world's knowledge for the price of already being here. They are dark now, shuttered, the scrolls asleep in their pigeonholes like the lamp maker's lamps, each one a lit evening waiting to happen. The night attendant passes through with his lamp, and the shelf brasses glint, rank on rank. 1,000,000 people sleeping, and their books sleeping over them. A city is its waterworks, yes, and its bread. It is also quietly this room. In the exercise yards, the sand lies raked and blank, moon-gray, holding the day's 10,000 footprints erased to nothing. The ball courts stand silent, their arguments adjourned. Along the colonnades, the cold statues keep their poses. Athletes and gods, moon on marble shoulders, and the night gives them what the day never does, which is room. A statue in a crowd is furniture. A statue alone in moonlight is very nearly company. The watchman on his round nods to one or two of them, the old favorites. Nobody is there to see him do it, which is why it can be done. By the hour before dawn, the halls will have cooled to the temperature of a kept promise, still warm to the palm, waiting. The furnaces will lean into their morning burn. The pools will shiver awake under the first attendant's brooms, and the doors will open on another 10,000. But that is tomorrow's weather. Tonight the great baths stand in their own vast privacy, warm, dark, murmuring their drip notes hall to hall, the largest gentle thing the city owns. Outside their barred doors, somewhere in the streets, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. The vaults take even that, soften it, and file it away with every other sound they have kept since the fires were first lit. Rome at night is minded, and the minding has a name. The vigiles, the watchers, 7 cohorts of them, one for every 2 of the city's 14 districts, quartered in stations around the town like 7 calm hearts. They are the night watch and the fire brigade in one body. And of the 2 duties, ask any of them, fire is the real one. A city of lamps and braziers and hay and timber floors, packed to its walls, is a city that must be walked, all night every night, walked by men who know what smoke smells like before it becomes a story. So they walk. Rain, festival, midwinter tonight. You will hear them before you see them. Boots in step, unhurried, and the clink of gear. It is one of the safest sounds in the world. Meet a patrol at the corner and fall in beside them. Invisible, welcome. 8 men, a lantern, buckets of the esparto grass kind, axes, a pump party trailing. The file leader is a 20-year man with a face like a well-used boot, and he reads the street as he walks it exactly the way the small town's watchmen read his, but in a dozen languages of smell and light. Charcoal banked properly there, lamp left burning in an empty shop there, and a boy sent to knock. A whiff of hot fat 2 streets over, traced at a trot, found to be a cook shop working late, fined last month, warned again now. The exchange conducted in the weary rhymes of men who have had it many times before. Most of firefighting, the leader will tell you, is walking. You put out fires that have not started yet. Those are the good nights, and this is one. The stations themselves keep the night's other vigil, lamplit and lively behind their gates. A watch station at midnight is a small warm world. The off-shift asleep in rows, boots paired at each bunk. The duty room with its roster board and its map of the district. Hydrant points and grain stores marked. The accumulated craft of 2 centuries of not letting Rome burn. In the yard the pumps stand charged, the great tarpaulins folded, the ladders racked by length, and in the kitchen corner always the pot, because a cohort runs on soup as surely as on discipline. New men take the jokes, old men take the best chairs. Somebody is always mending something. It could be a fishing boat's night crew, or a monastery's or a longhouse's. It is the same institution, everywhere always. Men awake so that others need not be. Their work tonight is the usual gentle inventory of a city's small hours. A lost donkey, apprehended at large in the vegetable market, escorted home with ceremony. A locked-out husband, assisted over his own wall with professional discretion and no comment, the fee for silence being his face. A rooftop sleeper's bedding gone over the edge in a dream, returned by ladder. A crying child at a window, a mother fetched, a street asleep again. The log at the station will record almost none of it. Quiet night, the log will say all districts. Behind those 3 words, 40 small kindnesses unbilled. Once tonight there is real work, and you may as well see how it goes. A smell of scorch in a lane of tall houses, hunted fast, found fast. A brazier tipped against a partition wall, smoldering, one room filling with smoke. The family already out and counted. The patrol does not run. They arrive all at once, like weather. Buckets in a chain from the corner fountain. The wall opened with 2 axe strokes exactly where the leader points. The glow drowned. The partition soaked. The floor above checked. The family lodged with neighbors. A guard left to watch the wet wall till dawn. 19 minutes, gate to gate. No bell was rung. Half the street will hear of it only tomorrow from the baker. This is what the walking is for, and why the city sleeps the way it sleeps. Their equipment has its own quiet poetry. If you look into the station yard on the way past, the pumps are bronze and clever, twin cylinders worked by a rocking beam, able to throw water over a 2-story roof. The men drill on them weekly and race on them at festivals, station against station. To a bearing interest the whole district takes seriously. The ladders are numbered and loved. The great mats and tarpaulins, soaked and hung from poles, can curtain a threatened wall while the buckets work. And the buckets themselves, the humble esparto grass buckets, hang in their long rows like a harvest. Every tool is for putting water where fire wants to be. 2,000 years from tonight, the men who do this work will carry different tools and the same face. Anyone who has seen both would know them for the same guild at one glance. There is a genius to how the stations are seeded through the city, and the old leaders will explain it with a stick in the yard dust, given any excuse. No point in the 14 districts stands more than a short run from help. The response is reckoned in the time a fire takes to climb one floor, and the reckoning is generous to the fire. Grain stores get their own standing guards. The theaters and the great temples have their hydrant points mapped and remapped. It is all very unglamorous, and it is why this city of 1,000,000 lamps, hay lofts and timber stairs mostly does not burn down, night after night after night. Mostly, the old fires are remembered by name, like storms, and taught to the new men as scripture. This is what happens. The lesson runs when the walking stops. So the walking does not stop. The patrol resumes its round, boots in step, lantern swinging low. Down at the corner they pause at the fountain, drink in rotation, and the leader looks down the long dark street with the day's-end squint of a man checking his own work. The street is dark, and dark is good. Dark means lamps out, fires banked everyone down. His whole trade, done perfectly, produces exactly nothing nightly, and he is proud of nothing all the way to his bones. Somewhere in the next district over, faint, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. He hears it, notes it, files it. All well. Walk on. In a rented room on a 3rd floor in the loud heart of the city, a lamp is burning that should not be, and behind it sits a poet, awake on purpose out of spite. He is a small, wiry man, no longer young, from a town in the provinces, and he has been in the city 20 years, and he makes his living the way poets here do, on wit, patrons, and nerve. And tonight, as most nights, he is at his window with a wax tablet on his knee, composing his revenge upon the noise of Rome. The carts he writes and scratches it out. The eternal carts he writes. Better. His complaint, to be fair, has material. His street never fully sleeps. The carts grind past below. The copper beater 2 doors down starts before dawn. The schoolmaster across the way starts earlier still. roaring declensions at boys who answer like sparrows. In this city, he writes, warming up now, sleep costs money. The rich sleep behind their garden walls, on beds of silence bought by the acre. A poor man sleeps in the crack between two noises, briefly, by accident. He reads it back in a mutter, pleased. The mutter is part of the composing. The whole building knows it, the way it knows the flute on the 4th floor. But watch him work, because the grievance is the engine and not the cargo. Between complaints, line by line, the night city gets into the verses sideways, and it gets in beautiful. The chestnut seller's brazier on the corner, an ember-red island with a philosopher king. The night porter's songs, filthy and glorious. The way moonlight lies down the middle of his mean street like silver paving, laid for a procession that never comes. He writes Rome the way you complain about a brother, with 20 years of helpless love showing through every line. His friends know it. His street knows it. Rome knows it and buys the poems and reads them aloud at dinner, laughing, flattered, rotten. He tells anyone who will listen that he is leaving, back to the provinces, back to his town, where the nights are black and silent and a man can hear his own thoughts land. He has been leaving for 11 years. Once he actually went, 2 summers ago, and lasted a month. The silence, he reported on return, was deafening. Nothing rolled past his window. Nobody shouted anything worth writing down. He lay awake in the country dark, missing. And this is his own confession, the carts, the far grind of them, the iron and the stone, the sound of bread coming. A man can be homesick, it turns out, for a noise he has cursed 500 nights running. He came back on the first wagon he could flag, and rode into the city at night, grinning at every rut, composing. Tonight's poem finds its shape somewhere past the middle of the night, as they do. 8 lines, small and hard and shining, about the schoolmaster, the copper beater, and the carts conspiring to steal his sleep, and how he will die famous and exhausted, and how they will carve the racket itself on his tomb. He reads it over twice and laughs once, a single dry syllable, which from him is a standing ovation. Then the stylus down, the lamp down at last to a bead, and the city's most professional insomniac lies back with his hands behind his head, job done, listening to his material rumble by below. Within 20 breaths, the noise he has built a life on does for him what it does for the 10,000 children. It rocks him under. The lamp bead gutters out on its own, a little after. On the tablet by the bed, the 8 lines wait for morning, and for the copyists, and for the dinner tables. And though he would wave the idea away with both hands, for the very long life such small, hard, shining things turn out to have, 1900 years on, when every palace on the hill is a field of broken stairs, people will still be reading this man on the subject of not sleeping in Rome, and laughing, at night, in bed. Below his dark window, on cue, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away, immortal and does not know it. The heart of the world closes early, as great offices do. By the 2nd hour of darkness, the Forum has gone from the loudest square in the empire to a moonlit stone meadow, and walking into it now, between the towering silent buildings, is like walking into a seashell. All day this valley floor holds the roar. Law, money, news, politics, religion, gossip, the whole audible business of running half the world, packed shoulder to shoulder between the marble faces. Now the last clerk has gone up the last stair, and the moon has the pavement to itself, and the only voice in the place is the fountain by the old speaker's platform, saying what fountains say to empty squares, which you know by now. I still hear, all well. The basilicas stand along the square with their doors barred, the great law halls, each one a covered field with a nave taller than most towns' temples. By day they hold the empire's arguments, hundreds of cases running at once, advocates bellowing over each other in the boom of the vaults. The vaults are still ringing faintly now. One imagines, working the day's rhetoric out of their stones. Justice here goes home at dusk and resumes at dawn, and the night in between belongs to the building's other tenants, the owls in the clerestory, who hunt the moonlit nave on soft wings, silent as verdicts. Along the square's edge stand the whitened boards where the city posts its daily record, and they are worth a moonlit pause, because they are one of the strangest ordinary things in the world. Every day, by old custom, the city writes itself down. Acts of the Senate, verdicts, appointments, prodigies, fires, festivals, notable birthdays, the price of grain. Scribes copy the sheets by the dozen, and writers carry them to the provinces, so that a garrison commander at the world's cold edge reads, a month late, what was posted on these boards. Tonight's sheet is still up. Read by nobody, moon on the wet black lettering. Tomorrow's is being compiled somewhere behind a lamplit window by a clerk whose name no one will record. In the great daily habit of a city that decided, long ago, to keep its own diary, most of what we will ever know about these people began as somebody's plain sentence on a whitened board, posted at dusk, read by morning crowds and thrown away. Write it down, the city believed. Even the ordinary days, especially those. The rostra, the speaker's platform, stands empty at the square's head, moon-washed, its bronze shiprams throwing spiked shadows. Every ambition in the city's long story has stood on that platform or schemed to. Speeches from it have started wars, ended them, remade the world by dinner. Tonight it is a bare stage for moonlight, and a cat is sitting on it. She is washing her shoulder with great thoroughness, facing, by pure chance, the direction of the absent crowd. Of all the powers that have held the rostra, she is, at this particular hour, the entire government, and the city has rarely been in calmer hands. The temples around the square keep their different sleeps. The great gilded ones on the heights stand dark, their gods indoors, their steps holding the day's last warmth for the beggars who know which stones cool slowest, and are permitted, by an arrangement nobody signed, to sleep there. Small offerings sit on thresholds, a honey cake a sprig, a lamp burning down, and in one round temple at the square's edge, and only one, a light is awake and will stay awake, a steady gold breathing behind the columns. That flame has its own chapter, later, deeper in the night. Note it now in passing, the way the whole city notes it. The one light that never goes out. Walk the length of the empty square slowly, heel to toe on the great flags, and let the strangeness of it have its minute. This floor is the most argued over ground on earth. Every stone under you has been fought about, legislated on, processed across, bled on in the old bad years, triumphed over in the good ones. By day it belongs to the loudest voice, in the world's loudest room, and every single night, all of that lies down. The arguments go home to their beds and become sleeping men, snoring gently beside their sleeping rivals' houses. The empire, the whole roaring engine of it, is not running now. It is parked here in the moonlight cooling, and nothing about it looks mighty at this hour. It looks like what it is, a town square, swept, waiting for morning, mice conducting their business along the sacred gutters. At the square's far end, you pass the golden milestone, the gilded column from which every road in the empire measures its distance home. All roads lead here, the saying goes, and here is precisely here. This bronze-clad post, moonlit, unattended. Lay a hand on it. Somewhere off the end of every road that starts at this stone tonight, someone is asleep, a fisherman on a cold northern coast, a date farmer on a desert edge, a girl in a port town by a warm sea, all of them fixed, whether they ever think of it or not, at some exact distance from your palm. The Forum is empty, and the roads are full of sleepers. And down one of those roads, faint and far, the night makes its one comment on empire. A cart rolls over stone and rolls away. The city has one resident older than the hills it is named for, and he is moving through the middle of it right now, dark and quiet, minding his own long business. The Tiber, come down from the Forum through the sleeping lanes, and there he is between his embankments, broad and slow, the color of night itself, folding the lamplight at his edges into long, soft ribbons. The bridges stride over him, arch after arch, each one carrying its little lights, and under the arches the current makes the only sound it ever makes, a deep, unhurried talking to the stone, older than the language of the city, older than the city, older than the idea of cities. The river is the city's oldest road, and it is working tonight as it works every night. Barges are coming up from the port at the river's mouth, hauled against the current by ox teams on the towpaths, patient as the water. They carry the heaviest of everything, the grain of 2 provinces, oil, wine, marble. The cargo's too great for carts. The towing is slow beyond any other trade. A barge walks upriver at the pace of a thoughtful man. So the bargemen lie aboard, and their supper fires glow on the water now, little windowless kitchens drifting north, and their voices carry flat and easy across the current, unhurried men in an unhurried trade, talking the river's own tempo. From the bank you can hear a ladle knock a pot, a laugh, the creak of the toll line taking a bend. The city is fed by walking, on water all night. Midstream, moored where the current runs cleanest, ride the island's neighbors, the river's own quarter. There is an island in the Tiber, right in the city's heart, shaped by long custom into the form of a ship, stone prow and all, as if the river had docked one vessel permanently and the city had agreed to pretend. On it stands the temple of the healing god, and around the healing god, as around all healing gods, sleep the hopeful sick, in porticos built for exactly this. The god heals by dreams, they say. You sleep in his precinct, and the help you came for walks into your sleep on soft feet. Whatever one believes, look at it from the bank tonight. An island full of sleepers in the middle of a dark river in the middle of the world's greatest city, all of them dreaming toward morning as the current slides past both shores. Even the skeptics on the embankment lower their voices, passing. Some arrangements you respect on the chance. The bridges each keep their small night populations, fishermen with lines down into the dark, after the eels that work the piers, arguing softly about bait as fishermen have on these exact spans for 400 years. A pair of lovers on the downstream parapet, saying the things said on bridges, which the river has heard beyond all counting and keeps perfectly. The bridge shrines with their lamps, honoring the crossing, because a river god suffers a bridge, the way a proud old man suffers an arm at the curb. Graciously, provided he is thanked, the river takes the lamplight of all of it, bends it, breaks it kindly, then it carries it a little way and hands it back. Under everything, under the barge fires and the bridge lamps and the healing island's votive glow, the water itself goes about its ancient shift. It came down out of the hills before there was anyone to name it. It carried the first raft, floated the twins of the old story to their wolf, took the city's first cargo and its first secret and its first prayer. It has flooded terribly and been forgiven, always, the way family is, and it will still be sliding between these hills, this same dark, patient fold of water, when every stone now standing has gone under the grass. The Romans know this, in the way you know a thing you never say. It is why the river rests them. Nothing that urgent can matter besides something that permanent. The wharves along the near bank keep the river's working museum, and it is open all night, admission free, to anyone walking slowly. Mooring rings, worn thin as wedding bands by 4 centuries of rope, stone steps descending into the water, their lower treads green and soft-edged, older than the embankment around them. Tally marks on the warehouse corners where generations of wharfmen have scored their cargo counts, layer over layer, a ledger gone to texture. And high on the wall above the steps, cut deep and dated, the flood marks, the river's own signatures, from the years it rose. The wharfmen point them out to new boys with a certain reverence, and the moral is always the same. He is a good neighbor, the old river, and he is a river. Respect is the rent, and it is cheap. The Boatmen's Guild keeps a shrine on the wharf to the river himself, Father Tiber, shown as an old man at his ease, leaning on an urn that pours forever, reed-crowned, broad, unbothered, the face of a grandfather who has seen everything the family can produce and has decided, on the whole, to be amused. He gets his lamp every night and his festival every year. The boatmen swear by him at him, and with him, sometimes in one sentence, which is exactly how you speak of family. Tonight his lamp rides its little bracket above the dark water, and the current slides under it, and whether anything in the river notices is not the point and never was. The lamp is how the wharf says what the fountains say. Still here, still friends, good night, stay on the embankment a while, elbows on the cool parapet, and let the river do for you what it does for the city. The barge fires inch upstream, the eel lines twitch and stir, the healing island keeps its dreamers, the bridges keep their lamps, the current keeps its counsel. Behind you the city rumbles its cart rumble, faint now, domestic, a house sound. Before you the water moves the way sleep itself moves, slow, dark, certain, carrying everything, complaining of nothing. Somewhere behind you, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. The river has heard 1900 years of them. It slides on, unimpressed, immense and gentle, and it will hear the morning's first cart too, and mind that one just as little. There is an hour when tomorrow's market exists, whole in the dark, before a single customer knows it, and that hour is now. Behind the vegetable market's long porticos, the night's carts are unlacing their loads, and the stalls are filling, silently, by lamplight, like a stage being set behind a curtain. Cabbages in green towers, onion ropes on their hooks, baskets of figs and plums and the first grapes, melons in ranks by size, herbs bound in fists of scent. The sellers work with few words at this hour, laying out their arguments for the morning, because a market stall is an argument, arranged to be lost. The best plums go where the eye lands first. Everyone knows. Everyone does it. The game is old and beloved on both sides. The fish come up from the port by fast cart through the dark, packed in wet rushes, and the fish sellers meet them at the market's river end, with lamps and strong opinions. This is the night's most urgent cargo and its loudest corner, relatively speaking. A low, brisk hubbub of sorting and pricing while the rest of the market murmurs. Mullet here, bream there, the eels in their writhing baskets to the eel man, who is calm the way all eel men are calm. Nothing else in the city moves this fast at this hour. By dawn, what swam yesterday off the coast will be laid out on wet marble, bright as coins, and the whole night ride will be invisible inside the simple word fresh. The great warehouse quarters along the river are the market behind the market, and their scale stops travelers cold. Grain stores like inland harbors, courtyard after courtyard, holding the bread of 1,000,000 mouths in dim gold hills, the oil and wine stores with their sunken jars in earth-cooled ranks, a buried orchard of clay. Porter's night crews move through it all with their tallies and their barrows, and the overseers walk the grain floors the way the abbey's cellara walked her stores. In another century you have visited, with the same slow, proprietary eye, the same arithmetic of winter in their heads. A city is only ever a few weeks from hunger, and these dim gold hills are the distance, measured exactly. Nobody who works these floors is ever entirely without the thought. It makes them, as a class, serious and generous at festivals. In the spice warehouses, smallest and richest, the night watchman inherits the finest sleeping post in commerce. A cot in a room that smells of pepper, cinnamon, and incense worth more than his street. He is a retired soldier with a lamp, a dog, and a list of exactly who may knock after dark, which is nobody. The dog agrees. Around them in the dark, in chests and jars, lies the compressed geography of the known world, coasts and monsoons and caravan summers, folded into fragrance. The watchman sleeps lightly and dreams, by his own report, of nothing in particular. His wife holds that a man who spends his nights breathing cinnamon has no business claiming plain dreams. The dispute is in its 9th year, and both parties are enjoying it. Come back to the vegetable porticos at the hour before opening and stand still among the finished stalls. Every lamp doubled in the polished counters, every pyramid built, every rope hung, every price decided and ready to be abandoned by mid-morning. The sellers are at the cookshop next door in a lamplit row, having the porridge and the first argument of the day, which is about yesterday. The market stands complete and empty behind them, one long breath before the doors, the whole abundance of the countryside arranged in the dark by tired hands, waiting for the city to wake up hungry. Of all the night's quiet miracles, this one repeats the most faithfully. Tomorrow is already here. It came in on the carts, somewhere late. One more of them rolls over stone and rolls away. You have kept this vigil twice before on these nights, in a small town and a smaller abbey, and loved it both times. Now see it at the scale of 1,000,000 mouths. Rome's bakeries number in the hundreds, and they are waking now, all of them in the deepest trough of the night, because bread for 1,000,000 is not baked at dawn. It is baked all night, in relays, in every quarter, so that the morning arrives already smelling finished. Walk any 3 blocks in this city right now, and you will cross the warm breath of at least one bakery working. It is the night's friendliest weather, and it always comes from a door with light under it. The great bakeries here are mills and factories in one, like the small towns but grown mighty. Ranks of hourglass millstones in the back halls, turned by mules, and in the newest houses, by water brought in on its own small branch from the aqueducts. The same patient rivers now grinding as well as pouring. The mill halls rumble all night. A deep domestic thunder the neighbors have long since folded into their sleep. Flour moves by the barrow load. Dough is worked in troughs the size of boats, by teams in shifts, to songs whose entire lyrical content is keeping the count. And the ovens, the great brick domes, are drawn and loaded and drawn again through the dark. Hundreds of loaves to the firing, the peels flashing in the lamplight like oars pulling a crew home. The bread itself is the city's true constitution. The round loaf scored in 8, the same worn shape from the Palatine to the poorest lane, stamped with its baker's mark, argued about by connoisseurs of no property whatever. And a great share of this night's baking is spoken for already, because this city, alone in the world, has written its bread into law. The grain comes in from provinces across the sea, is stored in those dim gold hills you walked past, is milled and baked in these very halls, and is handed out, loaf by loaf, to the citizens on the rolls. Say what you will of emperors, and the poets say plenty. The arrangement at the bottom of it all is as plain as a table. Nobody in Rome, the city has decided, goes without bread. The ovens working through this night are that decision. Kept warm, kept nightly, kept. Step into one bakehouse, the big one behind the vegetable market, and stand out of the way of the work. The master baker is a third-generation man with forearms like thrown clay, and the calm of a ship's captain in known waters. He runs the night by smell and by ear, when the crust note changes, when the mill rhythm drags, when a batch wants a minute more, and his orders are single words, mostly names. The crews move around each other in the tight flowery lamplight, with the unthinking choreography of long practice. New boys learn the map with their shins, once each. It is hot, hard, flowery, endless work, and the men who do it hold, to a man, the same two opinions, that it is too hard for anyone, and that they would not trade it. Bakers everywhere. It is the warmth, and the smell, and the standing at the exact spot where tomorrow is made. Off the main bakehouse, in a smaller, sweeter room, the festival side of the trade works its slower night. The pastry ovens, honey cakes for tomorrow's offerings, pressed in wooden molds older than the firm, a leaping calf, a wheat sheaf, a knot of good luck, cheese breads for a senator's morning table, and a wedding's worth of musk cakes, ordered for a baker's own niece, being made tonight by the master's mother, who no longer works officially and works every night actually at exactly this bench. Her hands know the recipe, the way the mules know the mill circle. Flour must, bay leaves on the oven floor beneath each cake. The old way, the only way. The room smells of honey and bay and singed sweetness, and every man passing the door slows his step by exactly one breath. Nobody skips the festival room. It is the trade's memory, and it smells like everyone's grandmother at once. The first carts of finished loaves go out while the night is still whole, to the distribution porticos and the market stalls, riding warm under cloths, scenting whole streets as they pass. This is the night's most welcome traffic, and the city knows it in its sleep. The vigiles wave the bread carts through their checkpoints, with the solemnity of men saluting a superior officer. At the big fountain, the bread carter and the melon carter pause hub to hub for the nightly minute, trade a loaf for a melon with no words at all, and roll on. The economy of the small hours is conducted in kind, and everyone eats well who is awake. By the hour before dawn, the city's whole underside is one warm risen smell, and the night bakers begin to hand over to the morning sellers, crews trading places at the counters like watches on a ship. The master baker steps out his own back door for the ritual minute, the one all his kind keep, flour to the elbows, steam rising off him in the cool, and drinks his cup standing, looking at nothing, hearing his ovens tick behind him. A million people, and their bread is done again. Down the lane, the first of his carts is off on the morning round. It rolls over stone and rolls away, and the smell of it goes ahead of it like good news, which is exactly what it is. Up on the Palatine and along the garden hills, behind walls that turn the streets into corridors of quiet, the great houses are performing their nightly disappearance. By day, a great Roman house is a public building, its doors thrown wide from dawn, its front halls filled with callers and clients and petitions, and the whole ceremonial traffic of importance. By night it becomes what it never quite admits to being, somebody's home. The doors are barred, the callers are gone, and the marble acres shrink, lamp by lamp, to the few warm rooms where the family actually lives. The same few rooms every family in every house in this story has actually lived in, whatever the floor plan pretended. The doorkeeper locks the great house, down the way the abbey's porter locked his gate, and it is the same office in richer dress. He is an institution, this one, 40 years at this door, and his lodge beside it is a kingdom of one chair, one lamp, one dog gone gray at his feet. He walks the bars and bolts in fixed order, front doors, garden doors. The postern the young master thinks nobody knows about. He knows the house's every voice, which caller is owed warmth and which mere correctness, whose knock after dark means trouble and whose means a daughter's baby coming early. The family upstairs holds the rank. The door, all 40 years of it, holds the knowing. Pass inward, past the wax masks of the ancestors in their hall cupboards, stern faces the lamplight makes kind, and find the family in the small green room off the peristyle, because the small room is where the evening always ends. The great dining hall seat 30. The small room seats the actual family. The master, with the day's letters unread on his knee. His wife, working wool she has no need to work, because her grandmother held that busy hands keep houses standing. The daughter, teaching the son a board game and robbing him blind at it. A reader reads to them, an old house slave with a voice like dusk. The farm poems tonight, the ones about bees and vines. Around them, the mansion stands dark and enormous. Inside the one-lamp circle, it could be any household in this city, any household in any of these nights. There is. That is the secret the walls keep best. The gardens breathe in the dark around the house, the hills great luxury, whole acres of night air held private, clipped walks, old pines with their heads full of stars, the long pool where the fountain has been turned down to its night voice, a thread, a whisper, money spent on making water quieter. Peacocks roost in the plane trees, folded, ridiculous, magnificent. Somewhere down the slope, a nightingale is working, and the garden slave who minds the roses has propped his ladder and stopped to listen. Unpaid overtime of the oldest kind. The city's rumble arrives up here as a hush on the night, a sea heard from inland. For that hush kings would trade. For that hush, in fact, is precisely what the hill has always been for. The house settles by its own long protocol. The lamps walked round and doused in order, the night lamp lit at the shrine, the household gods given their crumb and their splash in silver here, but the same crumb, the same splash, the same few words as at every lararium in every lane below. The children carried up, the slaves' quarters going quiet along their corridor, last talk, a laugh, silence. The master stands a moment at his bedroom balcony in the dark, looking down the hill at the 10,000 lamps of the city he helps steer, and the sight does to him what it does to every man who has ever stood there, makes him feel for one breath the size of what sleeps in his care, and then the next breath his own smallness inside it, and sends him to bed the better for both. By midnight, the great house has completed its vanishing. From the street it is a wall, a barred door, a lodge lamp, indistinguishable in the dark from any prosperous nothing. The doorkeeper makes his last round and checks his bars a final time. Then he settles into the chair, shaped like his own back. The dog rearranges itself over his feet by ancient contract. Above them both, the masks of the ancestors keep their cupboard watch, and the family sleeps in its few warm rooms, and the empty marble acres hold their breath till morning. Outside the wall, far down the hill, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. The doorkeeper hears it arrive at the edge of his doze. 40 years of nights identify it for him as nothing. He lets it go. Now come back down into the heart because it is deep night, and this is the hour for the city's oldest lamp. In the round temple at the forum's edge, The one light you noted in passing. The fire of Vesta is burning. It burns tonight as it has always burned, since before anything else in the city was true. The Romans will tell you plainly. It is not a bonfire, nothing dramatic, a hearth flame, tended modest gold, but it is the hearth of the whole city, the one fire from which all the others are notionally lit, and the law of it is simple and total. It does not go out. Never. Empires of things may happen. The flame is fed. The keepers are the Vestals, 6 of them, priestesses taken as girls and sworn to the flame for 30 years. And one of them is on watch in the round temple right now, this hour, as one of them always is, in the exact sense that the flame has never once been alone. Her watch is 4 hours of the great dark. Her duties are the fire, the wood, the prayers at their stations, and the tending of a silence so old it has texture. She is 19, this one on tonight's deep watch, and she has kept the night hours since she was 16, and she will tell you, if the discipline ever let her, that the middle watch is the one the young ones dread and the old ones request, the city asleep around the temple, like a great dog around a hearth, the flame talking its small talk to the shadows on the round walls, the sense, absolutely physical at the 3rd hour, of being the one awake point at the center of a sleeping world, the wick of the whole lamp of Rome. She feeds the fire the way she was taught by a woman who was taught in the rain before the rain before, the wood laid just so, the old dry oak that burns steady and low, no green stick that spits, no resinous log that flares. The flame is not supposed to perform. It is supposed to continue. That distinction, drummed into every novice, is somewhere near the center of everything this city believes about itself. Brilliance is suspect. Continuity is holy. The fire does not need to be bright. It needs to be burning tomorrow. She banks the coals at the watches, turning with a bronze tool worn to her grip, and the flame settles and holds, and goes on saying what it has said for 7 centuries. I still here, I still lit, asleep. Around the temple, the city's other fires answer it, whether they know it or not. And by now, walker of these nights, you can hear the chorus whole. The banked ovens of the 100 bakeries, the stokers' corridors under the great baths, the braziers of the vigil stations, the watch fires at the gates, the lodge lamps of the doorkeepers, the night lamps at 10,000 household shrines, each with its own small keeper or its own long habit. One city, one night, 100,000 kept flames, every one of them a private vow that morning is intended. The Vestal's fire is simply the vow said aloud, in public, on behalf of everyone forever. That is all a sacred flame is. Everybody's banked hearth promoted. She sits the last hour of her watch on the worn bench, hands in her lap, the flame's gold moving gently on her face, and does what the long-dead teachers actually recommend for this hour, which is nothing. Attend the fire. Let the mind bank itself. Prayers said would stack city quiet. The novices think the watch is about staying awake, and spend their first year fighting sleep like sailors. The old priestesses know it is about stillness with the eyes open, a settled watching not far from the far side of sleep, and they come off, the middle watch rested in a way no bed delivers. She has just crossed, this year, from the first understanding to the second. It shows in her shoulders. The flame ticks. The round room breathes. Rome turns slowly through the dark with this one gold point at its center, like a sleeper's heart. Her relief comes at the hour's turn. A shape in the doorway, the whispered formula older than either of them. The watch handed over like a full cup passed without spilling. She walks the portico to her rest, as the sky's deepest black begins, just barely, to think about softening. Behind her, the flame goes on in the round temple, tended now by another pair of quiet hands, as it will be tended tomorrow, and the night after, and the night after that. Out in the dark streets, even the carts have thinned to almost none. But listen, they're far off, one last early one. It rolls over stone and rolls away, and the sound goes past the temple of the eternal fire like a bow drawn once across the city's lowest string. The flame does not so much as lean. It has heard every cart there has ever been. Outside the walls, out where the city's lamps are only aglow on the southern sky, a man is walking along the top of a river. He is one of the water board's night patrol, the Aqueduct Walkers, and his beat is the last miles of the great arches as they stride toward the city. 100 feet of dark air below him on either side, a channel of walking water beside his boots, and above him nothing but the entire summer sky. It is the loneliest job in the Empire's gift, and the men who hold it can be divided into two sorts: those who transfer out within the month, and those who would not transfer to the Emperor's own guard, and must eventually be retired off the arches protesting. His work is the channel. He walks the covered watercourse from inspection hatch to inspection hatch, lifting the stone lids, lowering his lamp, reading the water, its level against the old marks, its speed, which he judges by a straw dropped and paced, its sound, which is the real instrument. Sweet water in a clean channel has a note, and silt has another, and a hairline crack weeping into the arch below has a third, and he can tell them apart half asleep, and has, found in the dark by ear, marked by lamplight in chalk, reported at dawn, mended by the day gang. The rivers on legs are kept healthy the way everything in these nights is kept, by somebody patient, walking, listening, while the world sleeps. The arches themselves keep him company, after their fashion. He knows them individually, which ones ring underfoot and which thud, where the old repairs are. The arch the lightning found the famous summer, the one with the fig tree rooted impossibly in a joint, which the board has ordered cut 3 times and which he has 3 times not quite gotten around to, because a fig tree 100 feet up an aqueduct, fed on stolen river, is the kind of joke a man wants company with on a long beat. In the dark beneath, the plain lies silvered to the hills, sheepfolds, farm lamps, the pale double thread of the Great South Road with one late traveler's torch crawling it. From up here the world is a map of sleep, and he is its one moving piece. At the midpoint of his beat stands the great junction, where a second aqueduct's arches come angling in across the fields to run beside his own, 2 rivers walking abreast the last miles home. There is a platform there and a hut, and the other line's Walker, an old man now, who was walking these arches when tonight's man was a boy stealing melons in the plain below. They share the midpoint pause by tradition, bread, a mouthful of wine, few words, 2 lamps burning side by side in the enormous dark, 100 feet up, with 2 rivers running past their feet toward 1,000,000 sleepers. The old man says the same thing most nights, looking at the city's glow. All that, he says, drinks through here. It has stopped being a boast in his mouth and become something else, a bedtime line, a small nightly astonishment he refuses to let wear out. All that drinks through here. Walk the last miles with him toward the walls as his beat closes. The water beside him picks up the city's pull, or seems to, running, he would swear it, a shade more eagerly as the arches rise toward the great meeting of lines at the gate, where channels cross and merge and duck at last into the walls, and the rivers go underground into their buried tree. He walks his final arch, lifts his final hatch and listens. Sweet level sound. He chalks the mark that means all well, and stands a minute at the parapet's end, city glow before him, dark plain behind, One man at the exact seam where the wild water becomes Rome's. Below in the streets, it will rise at 1,000 basins into the small silver columns of sound you have drunk from twice tonight. None of the drinkers will ever know his name. He looks at the glow, says nothing, being younger than the old man and not yet ready for liturgy, and turns for home along the top of his river. Somewhere inside the walls, muffled, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. From up here, even Rome is a quiet town. All roads lead to Rome, the world says. And tonight, at the world's own hour, you can stand where the saying is simply a fact with torches on it. The great gates of the city stand open in their walls, each one a stone throat between the sleeping streets and the enormous dark, and the roads run out from them, dead straight, moon pale, ruled across the plain toward everywhere. The south road to the ports and the boot of the land, the east roads to the mountains and the far sea beyond, the north roads to the river valleys, the passes, the cold provinces, the edge of the maps. By day they carry the world in. At this hour they lie almost empty, long pale causeways through the sleeping fields, and they hum quietly with the one thing empty roads are made of, which is possibility. Almost empty, but never quite. Night travel is its own society, and the gatekeepers know its whole cast. The imperial post riders, first and fastest, changing horses at the relay stations and carrying the state's business at the gallop through the dark. A rhythm of hooves that swells, flares in the torchlight, and is gone north before the gate dog finishes standing up. The late farm carts, the early ones, a physician on a mule, fetched to a berth at an outlying villa, his boy trotting ahead with the lamp. Travelers who misjudge the distance and finish the last miles by starlight, footsore, singing to keep their spirits, because the roads are patrolled and safe near the city, but the dark is still the dark, and the walkers of no fixed story, the peddlers, the pilgrims, the young men going to seek and the old ones coming back from finding, all funneled at last, whatever their road, into a torchlit arch and a gatekeeper's practiced, unsurprisable eye. The gatekeeper of the Great South Gate is the one to spend the hour with. A stout, unhurried man who has kept this arch for 19 years and holds, against all poets, that his is the best view in the city. He means the doorway itself, the standing place between. On his left hand, the sleeping streets, lamplight, bread smell, a million breathing citizens. On his right, the road, running out silver until the dark takes it, and at the far invisible end of it, everything else there is. Every soul who passes his arch is mid-story, going or coming, rising or fleeing or returning or lost, and he sees them at the exact hinge. He has watched fortunes walk in on bare feet and out in litters, and the reverse, and he has learned the gatekeeper's great secret, which he will share for a cup of wine. Nobody, coming or going, is finished. The road runs both ways for everyone. It is the most patient fact in the world, and it stands open all night. Just inside the arch, the night's small mercies gather as they gather at every gate in every century. The bench for those who arrived after the lodging houses barred up, where a soldier's widow and her boy sleep tonight under the watchman's own cloak, no record kept. The water basin running, the lamp niche where the gate's worn little god gets his crumb. The dog, gate-born, gray-muzzled, who conducts each arrival 2 symbolic paces into the city and returns to his post, duty done, honor satisfied. Empires are administered from the hills. They are joined, person by person at the gates at night, by stout men with lamps who have seen everything and turned almost nobody away. Beyond the arch, the tombs line the roadside for the first mile, as they line every approach to this city. The Romans burying their dead not in hidden fields but along the busiest roads, with their names turned outward and their inscriptions addressed warmly to you. Stop, traveler, the stones say in the old formula. Stop a moment, stranger, I was Lucius, I made good bread. I lived 60 years, go your way and be well. By day the road's traffic reads them without slowing, a mile of hellos from the departed. By moonlight, the long marble street of them stands silent, holding its 1,000 names out to the empty road. And the effect is not sorrowful, whatever you would guess. It is company. The dead of Rome lie chatting along their roads like villagers on evening benches, still facing the traffic, still introducing themselves, still wishing the living safe journey. No city has ever said good night to itself more thoroughly. Stand at last in the middle of the South Road. On the crown of the paving, torch glow behind you, moon silver ahead. 1900 years from tonight, this exact stone will still be here, rutted with these exact wheels, and people not yet imaginable will walk it and lay their palms on the ruts. But that is a morning thought, and the night is still deep. The gatekeeper calls his soft, all quiet up to the wall walk. The widow's boy turns over under the borrowed cloak. The gate dog sighs enormously and settles. And from far out on the plain, carried in on the still air, comes the night's own signature, the sound this whole city breathes in its sleep. A cart rolling over stone, rolling this way, with somebody's tomorrow aboard. Let it come to you and pass you, and roll away into the arch's torchlight. Then follow it in slowly. The night has a few more rooms to show you, and then it will show you the door to sleep. Between two of the hills lies the largest built thing you have ever stood inside, and at this hour it is the emptiest. The great circus, the racetrack of the city, a valley remade in stone and timber, seating beyond any honest counting. Some say a quarter of the city at once, banked up both hillsides around a track long enough that the far turn stands in its own weather. Today it roared. A race day here is the loudest thing our species has yet produced, a sound they say the shepherds hear in the mountains. Tonight the moon lies down the whole silver length of the sand. The ranked seating climbs into the dark on either hand, perfectly silent, and your own footsteps on the track are the only event on the program. There is no emptiness anywhere like the emptiness of a great arena at night. It is not absence. It is a full room holding its breath. Walk out along the central spine, the long barrier the chariots thunder around, and take the moon's tour of its monuments. The bronze dolphins that count the laps, noses down, all 7 asleep. The great obelisk from the old river kingdom, 4,000 years from home even then, moonlight sliding down its carved faces, a stone that watched pharaohs and now watches this, and gives, as it has always given, no opinion. The turning posts at each end, gilded, gleaming faintly, the exact points around which the city's whole heart swings on race days. Between them, raked sand, moon, nothing. Down at the far turn, a fox is crossing the track at a diagonal, entirely at leisure, tail level, the night's one competitor winning. The stables in the arcades beneath the seating are where the sleeping is done, and it is worth putting your head into that warm straw dark. The teams are the treasures of the city, and they sleep like the treasures they are, groomed to silk, blanketed, watched. A stable boy sleeps in the aisle itself, caught across the door of the great gray's stall, less security than devotion. The gray is the city's darling this season, the left-hand horse of the champion team. His name is chalked on walls from the river to the gates. His image is pressed into lamp tops. His tail hairs are, illegally and constantly, snipped for luck. He is asleep on his feet, ears making small independent journeys, dreaming, presumably, of the far turn. The boy on the cot, who will be a driver someday or die trying, Dreams the same turn from the car. Neither knows the other is there beside him. In the same race all night. The factions have their clubhouses hard by the track. The four racing colors that divide the city more truly than any politics. And the watchmen of two of them are, at this hour, sharing a fire in the alley between their doors, which by daylight loyalties should be impossible. Race days, the Reds man and the Blues man do not speak. Deep night is neutral ground, older than the colors. They keep the coals between them and conduct the connoisseur's argument, which is not whose team is better. Both know that arguments grooves too well, but finer stuff. Whether the great gray takes the turn tighter than his sire did, whether the new surface rides fast or merely loud, the fire settles. Somewhere above them in the dark arcades, an owl is working the mice of the grain stores. Two old enemies, one fire, the sleeping colossus of the track beside them. On race day, they will not know each other in the street, and both would be obscurely ashamed too. Tonight they split a sausage, climb last into the seating, up the moonlit stairs to the high rows, and sit where the shopkeepers and the porters sit, where the sound is said to come down on race days like a falling sea. Below you the track lies at full length in the moon, the spine with its sleeping dolphins, the obelisk's long shadow laid across the sand like a sundial telling midnight. 250,000 people were here at noon, one animal with one voice. Every seat around you held its shouting, sweating, wagering soul. Now the moon holds them all, one silver house, silent, and you alone in it. All crowds go home. That is the quiet law under every roar there has ever been. The greatest noise on earth is a rented thing, and the night owns the hall. Come down the stairs softly, cross the track a last time, and let yourself out the athlete's gate at the valley's end. Behind you the great circus resumes its perfect vacancy. Fox and owl and sleeping horses, moon moving imperceptibly down the obelisk, dolphins waiting for laps that will come with the festival. The city has absorbed its daily roar and put it to bed. It puts everything to bed, sooner or later, gently. Outside the gate, the lanes are dark and warm and ordinary, and full of the smell of somebody's rosemary hedge. And there, right on time, near at hand for once, unhurried, the night says its refrain in your own street. A cart rolls over stone and rolls away. You could not sleep in this city without it now. I admit it. The poet did. Rome keeps more green inside its walls than any stranger expects, and at night the green takes over. The great public gardens spread across the northern hills, whole estates of walks and groves left to the people by the mighty dead, who discovered that the surest way to be loved forever in this city is to leave it your trees. Under the stone pines, the night air pools cool and resinous, and the long gravel walks run pale under the moon between hedges gone soft and shapeless with the dark. By day the gardens belong to stroller and philosophers and children rolling hoops. By night they belong to the smell of water dust, the owls, and the slow patrols of the garden watch. Old soldiers to a man, who took the quietest posting in the empire on purpose, and will tell you so. The pines are the city's second architecture. You have seen them from every hill tonight. The great umbrella crowns standing over the roofscape in black silhouette, and here beneath them you can hear what they do with the night breeze, which is to slow it down and make it say shhh, enormously, gently, over and over. A sound very near the seas but drier, older sounding, the sound of 100 summers stored in needles. Romans abroad in the northern provinces, asked what they miss, name the fountains first as you know. Pressed further, past the wine and the light, they go quiet and then say the pines. That sound, there is no other tree that sounds like a Roman pine at night, and no Roman who does not know it blindfolded. Deeper in, the garden's furniture sleeps in the moon. The long pool with its lotus, still as poured marrow. The exercise grounds where the young men wrestle at dusk. Sand raked, benches empty. The little round temple of the garden god on its knoll, hung with offerings of first fruit gone quietly to the birds, as intended. Statues line the walks, the donor's famous collection, heroes and nymphs and thinkers. And the night gives them the same gift it gave the athletes at the baths. Room. Moon on a marble thinker under a black pine is very close to thought itself, standing still. The watch patrol passes it, boots soft on the gravel, and the older man nods to it, the habit of 30 years. His partner, new young, has just started doing it too. It happens to everyone on this posting. Nobody discusses it. The garden's waterworks keep their own small night. The channels run threading through the beds, fed from the great pipes. The theory, correct, is that a garden this size is a citizen too and gets its share. The fish ponds lie in their moon glaze. Old carp drift under the surface like slow thoughts. Some of them, the gardeners insist, are older than the youngest statues. There is a water clock in the eastern walk, a bronze basin arrangement that drips the hours for anyone who cares. At this hour, nobody does. It drips them anyway, patient as everything else you have met tonight. And in the aviary court, the day's flocks sleep on their perches. Doves and blackbirds, and one imperial peacock too grand for the trees, all of them fluffed round and silent. The gardeners say the aviary's sleep is the deepest in the city. Nothing that sleeps behind lattice, fed daily, has anything at all to dream about but weather. The gardeners themselves live in a lodge by the tool courts, and the last lamp of the profession is burning there now over the oldest of them, who is doing what head gardeners do at night, which is planning. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow was planned last week. He is planning the autumn, the replanting of the long walk, the pines that must come down in 10 years, and the pines that must go in now to be ready in 40. He will not see the 40-year pines at their height. He plants them anyway, and it does not require courage. It is simply the trade. Every great garden in the world is a letter from the dead to the unborn, delivered nightly, and the men who write them sleep in the end, better than kings. The gardens hold the city's nightingales, and this is their hour and their season. Down in the myrtle thickets by the water channels, the singing runs its cool silver threads through the dark, one bird taking up as another rests, unhurried, elaborate, addressed to nobody, perfect. The garden watch adjusts its rounds for them, unofficially, wide of the thickets in high summer. It is written in no standing order, and every man learns it his first June. You do not walk boots through the middle of that. You go around. Empires are remembered for their roads and their laws. But mark this small thing tonight and keep it. At the height of its power, in the middle of its capital, this one rerouted its patrols nightly around a bird. At the garden's high edge, where the last terrace looks south over the whole bowl of the city, there are benches set exactly for the view. And at this hour always, a few sleepless souls have found them. An old man who sleeps little now, and has stopped resenting it. He sits wrapped well, watching the city's lamps the way he once watched his children sleep. Two young men from some dinner party talked out at last, sharing the end of a wineskin in an amiable silence. A woman with a shawl over her head, whom nobody will disturb. She is keeping some anniversary of her own with the skyline. The night terrace is the city's gentlest institution, and it has no name and no founder. Wherever there is a view and a bench, the sleepless assemble, wordless, respectful of distance, joined only by the same lit valley below. The watch counts them on each round informally, as shepherds count, all present, all quiet, all in their fashion resting, Leave the terrace sitters to their vigil, and come down the long gravel walk toward the city again. Pines saying SHHH overhead all the way to the gate. The garden god's little temple glimmers on its knoll behind you. The nightingales thread the dark down by the water, and the two watchmen are at the far turn of their round, lamplight swinging small under the black crowns, going wide of the myrtle, as the standing order that does not exist requires. Below and beyond, the 10,000 lamps have thinned toward midnight's few. The city is nearly all the way asleep now, and faint from the streets down there, muffled by a mile of soft air and pine, comes the word for it. A cart rolls over stone and rolls away. There is an hour when the whole city can be held in one look, and a place worn smooth by the holding, and both have been waiting for you all night. Climb the Aventine by its winding lanes, past the sleeping houses and the walled orchards, to the terrace at the crown where the plane trees stand. Travelers are brought here at midnight by the Romans themselves, who pretend to be above the view and never once skip it. From this rail in this light, Rome at last consents to be seen whole, and the first thing to say is the thing every visitor says, in every language at this rail. Lie. Just that. The word before words. The moon has the city laid out in silver and ink. The river makes its great S through the middle, moon-plated, the island riding it like the moored ship it pretends to be. The bridges cross it on their small lamps. The hills rise out of the roof sea, each in its own character. The Palatine crowned and palatial, the Capitol with its temples standing gilt dark against the stars, the far hills folding away northward carrying their gardens, and filling every valley between, lapping every slope, the city itself, the endless tiled ocean of it, roof on roof on roof, gray-silver, breathing. Here and there, a late lamp pricks the dark like a held star. The great racetrack lies below you, an empty silver ring. The Forum is a fold of deeper shadow, with one gold point in it that does not flicker. You know that point now. Everyone on this terrace for 7 centuries has known that point. 1,000,000 sleepers, held in one look. Count what you can name in the dark, because tonight you can. The poet, 3 floors up in the loud quarter, sleeping on his back with his revenge finished beside him. The Vestal, past the middle of her watch, banking oak. The stable boy across the door of the great gray stall. The widow and her son, under the watchman's cloak at the south gate. The bakers awake, forearms in tomorrow. The Aqueduct Walker on his arches out there in the dark plain. The gatekeepers in their torchlit throats. The vigiles at the turn of their rounds. The terrace sitters on the northern hill keeping their wordless parliament. And around each named one. 10,000 unnamed, each with a day behind them and a day ahead. Each one the exact center of a story nobody up here will ever hear. That is what a city is at midnight. Not stone at all. Held stories breathing. Listen to it last. Because from this rail the city has one sound and you will want to keep it. Not the carts, though they are in it. Not the fountains, though they are its floor. It is all of it together, blended by height and distance into a single deep soft rush, steady as a sleeper's breath. The sound of 1,000,000 small fires banked, 100,000 doors barred kindly, 10,000 kept lamps, one flame that never goes out. Cities roar by day, and every century hears its own roar, and thinks it new. But this sound, the midnight sound, the great settled hush of many lives lying safely down, this one does not change. You have heard it over a longhouse, over an abbey, over a small doomed lovely town by the sea, and it was the same sound. And here it is again, at the scale of the world, unchanged. It is the sound our kind makes when it is briefly, collectively at peace. There has never been very much of it. There is some tonight, The plane trees stir along the terrace. Down in the dark below, a dog answers a dog, settling some last point of the day's parliament, and the silence closes back over it like water. The moon rides a hand higher than when you climbed. 1900 years from tonight, there will still be a city on these hills, and it will still be beautiful at midnight from this one. And people will still climb up here to hold it in one look and say the word before words. Hills keep, views keep. The river will still make its silver S. Keep this one whole, exactly as it lies, one more breath. Now let it go, gently, the way you are learning to let the day go. The night is past its crown and sliding toward the deep hours. Come down from the rail. The city has 2 rooms left to show you, and they are its softest. What a million sleepers dream. No census will ever count. But we have walked this city all night, you and I, and we have earned our guesses. And you know by now how gently we make them. So, down from the hill, into the sleeping streets one last slow time, past the shuttered shops and the breathing houses, pausing at this window and that lamp-dark door, to visit the dreams of Rome. The gatekeeper of the South Gate dreams of the road, not travelers on it, the road itself, silver, running out from under his arch across the plain, across the sea, up the mountains of maps he has never seen, unrolling like a bolt of moonlit cloth past cities of towers, past the edge of the known, on, and his own arch the still point it all unrolls from. He stands his post in the dream as in life, but the road runs for him alone, showing him everywhere it goes, every place his 19 years of travelers came from and vanished to. He will wake believing he dreamed of nothing much. Doorkeepers dream the largest dreams in the city. It is the position. The stable boy dreams the race, of course, from the car at last. The great gray's haunches working ahead of him. The spine's monuments flowing past, dolphins diving one by one. But it is a dream race, so the crowd makes no sound at all. 250,000 mouths open in silence, and the only noise in the whole silver circus is hooves and his own heart. And the far turn comes to meet him slow and sweet as honey off a spoon, and the gray takes it tighter than his sire ever did. Because in this boy's dreams always, forever, the gray can do anything. In his stall, the gray himself dreams. His ears move. No one will ever know, but it is the turn, the same turn. They practice it together, most nights unbeknownst. The poet dreams he is home, in the provincial town in his boyhood bed, and the silence of the country night has come into the room like deep water. And in the dream, he lies in it, listening, with a happiness he would deny at any dinner party in Rome. And then far off, at the silence's very floor, a cart. One cart, rolling over stone, rolling away, absurd, impossible. His town has no such nights, and the sound comes to him across the dream, like a lamp carried down a long corridor, and he knows it is Rome, come out all this way to fetch him. And he laughs in his sleep, one dry syllable, and turns over fetched. The Vestal, off watch, sleeps her 4 hours in the priestess's house, and dreams what the young keepers of the flame have probably always dreamed, that she is the fire, not tending it, being it, gold, small, steady, set in the round dark at the center of everything, with the city around her like a body around a heart, streets for veins, the river's pulse, a million sleepers warm at her one light. It is not a grand dream, the way she holds it. It is a dream of being useful all night without effort. She will wake for the dawn office rested, and walk to the temple through the first gray light, and find the flame exactly where she left it. Both of them kept, both of them keeping. In the tall apartment house, the whole stacked hive dreams at once. The student on the leads dreams the constellations came down to be learned properly. arranging themselves one by one on the tiles around his bedding, patient as tutors. The flute player dreams a note longer than any breath. The old woman who told the fox story dreams the fox, who has, in her dreams, grown old along with her, and sits by her dream fire like a red cat, and tells her a story back, and it is a good one, and she will remember none of it and hum all morning. Floor under floor, wall to wall, the building holds them, 200 dreamers in one creaking hand, and on the first floor the child who corrected her father dreams in letters, new ones, whole silver alphabets nobody has invented yet, spelling words that mean warm and safe and morning soon. And the city itself, if a city dreams this, that the carts roll in forever, and the bread rises forever, that the water walks in on its arches, cold and sweet forever, that the flame is fed, the gates are kept, the rounds are walked, that the books sleep safe above the cooling pools, that the million wake tomorrow and quarrel and bargain and laugh, and lie down again, and again and again, world without end. It is a good dream. Most of it, against every odd, is even true, and will stay true for a long, long time. Let the city have it. Pull its dark over it like a blanket, the way we have covered every sleeper tonight, and step softly. The last hour is here, the deepest one, and it is yours. Now the city reaches the bottom of its night, the hour with no name, and even Rome, goes almost perfectly still. The carts have thinned to almost none. The last barges are moored. The bakers are past their loudest work and into the long quiet of ovens doing their own share. The vigiles walk softer, half their lanterns shuttered. Even the fountain's sound changed. Closer, more distinct. Each silver column standing alone in its own street now that the city's great floor of sound has sunk so low. This is the hour that belongs to no one, that every sleeper owns equally, the free hold of the world. You have kept it 3 times before on these nights. Keep it here in the greatest of all the sleeping cities. Walking the middle of streets 1,000,000 people share, alone. The moon is well down the western sky now, and the light in the lanes has gone from silver to something older, dimmer, the color of pewter and dust. Dew is settling on the fountain rims, on the bronze door fittings of the shuttered shops, on the backs of the sleeping dogs at their thresholds. The city smells of banked fire and cool stone, of bread in its 100 warm springs, of river faintly everywhere, and of the watered dust of the gardens rolling down off the hills. A cat crosses the empty Forum diagonal at her own pace, the entire heart of the world hers by night right, past the rostra, past the golden milestone, unhurried, unimpressed, correct. In the houses, the deepest tide, sleepers past dreaming now, down in the still water under dreams, breathing the long, slow breaths that will carry them to morning. The lamps are out or down to their last blue thumbnails. In the tall buildings, the floors have merged their silences into one. On the rooftops, the star sleepers lie under the wheel-drowned sky, blankets dew-damp at the edges, faces slack and young, every one of them, whatever the day made of them. Somewhere a baby stirs and is gathered in. The world's oldest arrangement, neither party fully waking. Somewhere a shutter taps twice in a breath of river air, and thinks better of it. 100,000 sleepers, and you could walk from gate to gate now, the city's whole width, and never once be met. Even the city's stones do their night work at this hour, though nobody thinks of it as work. All day the sun charges them. The pavements, the walls, the great warm flanks of the public buildings, and all night they spend it back, gently, into the cooling air. Walk barefoot now across the Forum flags, as the beggars on the temple steps could tell you, and the day is still in them, ebbing, soft as an animal's side. The city is never cold in summer, not truly, not even at the bottom of the night. It keeps yesterday's warmth the way it keeps everything else. Banked, minded, spent slowly. Stone is only another kind of ember, on the right night. This is the right night. The night's last post hold their small lights against the great dark. The Vestal's successor at her oak, the doorkeeper in his chair, dog over his feet, both snoring in respectable counterpoint. The gate torches, the bridge lamps, the spice warehouse where a soldier sleeps in pepper-scented state, the stoker's corridor under the great baths, gold in the underworld, bread toasting on a polished shovel for the shift's last meal. Count the kept flames one final time, Walker, because this is what you came all this way to learn, and now you know it in 4 cities. The dark is large and always was, and our kind's answer to it has never really changed. Not in the Longhouse, not at the Abbey, not by the bay, not here at the summit of the world. Somebody stays up, somebody keeps the fire, somebody walks the rounds, so that everybody else can close their eyes. That is civilization, the whole of it seen at its right hour. The rest is decoration. Far out at the city's rim, the sky has not changed, and yet the roosters know something. One crows absurdly early, is answered by nothing and stands down, embarrassed. The east holds no light you could swear to, but the night has turned some corner all the same, the way it does, felt not seen. The river slides, the pines say shhh to nobody. High over the roofs the swifts are up there still, asleep on the wing, circling the sleeping city in the great dark like slow thoughts. The morning is coming in its own time, at its own pace, unhurried as everything wise in this town. It is not here yet. There is still deep dark left, hours of it plenty enough. Sleep is not a thing you are trying to reach anymore, listener. It is the water you are lying in. Let go of the last of the day, if any of it is somehow still in your hands. The watch is walked, the flame is fed. Somewhere one last time, far off and soft and faithful, a cart rolls over stone and rolls away. Here the walk ends, where all these walks end, in the hour before the birds, with the city still whole and dark and breathing around us, and morning owed but not yet collected. We will not stay for the waking. The waking is glorious here, they say, the swifts coming down in their screaming thousands, the gates filling, the millstones taking up their thunder, 1,000,000 people remembering themselves. But it is not ours. Our errand was the night, and the night is nearly spent, and it has paid us everything it promised. You have seen it now, the whole of it. The thing the daylight histories are too busy to show you. Rome without its noise, the empire lying down, the greatest city of the ancient world doing the humblest thing a city does, hour by hour, gate by gate, lamp by lamp, and doing it so well with such care, so many hands keeping so many small fires. Whatever you knew of Rome before tonight, the marble and the legions and the speeches, keep this underneath it from now on. The bread carts and the water walking in on arches, the poet asleep on his own complaint, a nightingale rerouting an empire's boots, a 19-year-old girl feeding oak to a 700-year-old fire, at the still center of 1,000,000 dreams. That was Rome too. That was Rome nightly. History remembers the days here, but the nights, all those tens of thousands of ordinary faithful nights, they are what the days were for. So we leave it exactly as we found it, only deeper asleep. The gatekeeper nodding at his arch, the widow's boy warm under the borrowed cloak, the great gray dreaming his turn, the boy across his door dreaming the same, the stacked house of 200, breathing as one, the terrace sitters gone home at last, the benches holding their view alone, the river carrying the barge fire's last embers seaward, the island of dreamers riding it at anchor, and over it all the hills, and over the hills the wheeling stars, and threaded through everything, steady as a pulse, the fountains running for no one, running for everyone running, and you, wherever your bed is tonight, take the city's own way with you as you go the last distance down. Bank your fires, bar your door gently, set your one small lamp where morning will find it. You are inside the oldest safety there is, the kind that is kept, hour by hour, by unseen faithful hands and always has been, and is being kept around you now. 1,000,000 people slept in one city 1900 years ago, and it held, and the morning came, and it was ordinary, and that was the miracle. It holds tonight too. The morning will come. It will be ordinary. Asleep citizen. You could not be in better company. Above the 7 hills, the stars wheel slow toward morning. Below them, 1,000,000 people breathe in the dark, kept and keeping. The sacred flame stands steady in its round house, gold, small enough, and somewhere out on the wide stone streets, first of the new day or last of the old, no one will ever say. A cart rolls over stone and rolls away. Good night, Rome. Good night, listener. This was worlds before morning. Good night.